Okay, perfect. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, How Nutrition Can Maximize the Effectiveness of Your GLP-1s. Today is going to be presented by Kelly Springer. Kelly is fabulous. She is the founder of Kelly's Choice in 2012, a voice of authority and advocacy. Kelly is elevating the conversation around what it truly means to be healthy. Kelly has been a keynote speaker and panelist at a numerous amount of conferences. We are so lucky to have her today. And she's also a spokesperson for select health brands. And it's just incredible. We've been able to work together and collaborate over the years. I'm so glad to see you again, Kelly, and to really bring this topic. We all know GLP-1s are super buzzy right now. We're getting asked from patients and friends and healthcare providers. And really, it's about the efficacy and how to maximize the effectiveness of them in combination with nutritional care and other lifestyle changes. So it's such an important topic to bring today. I am so thankful to have you here, and I am happy to turn it over to you and let you go from here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen and bring up the presentation today. So let me bring this up and get started. Here we go. Thank you for your patience for a second, and we'll get this started from the beginning. All right, everybody. So this is a huge conversation. Just to introduce myself, and thank you so much for doing that wonderful introduction. I am a registered dietitian, and like we were talking about, everyone is getting questions about this. From working with primary care physicians to just going in the grocery store and people asking me questions. I am extremely fortunate that my aunt, my dad's youngest sister of 12, which is crazy, is a dietitian for Novo Nordisk. I've been lucky enough to be able to get the most up-to-date information from them regarding these weight loss medications. So as we go through this, a little bit is going to be boring. I'm going to try to make it as exciting as possible. And just know that I am here for you afterwards. You can email me at kellyspringer@live.com and also go to Kelly's Choice _nutrition for Instagram. If you can go there right now, follow us. That'd be amazing. But you can ask me any questions afterwards. Unfortunately, tomorrow night, I wish it was before this, tomorrow night, I'm going to get even a higher in-depth conversation brought on by Novo Nordisk. They're going to have me go to a dinner tomorrow night with one of the leading physicians. So I'm going to be able to do, hopefully with Healthie, a follow-up to this to even give you the most up-to-date information as we gain more information, because things are changing daily. There's a lot of medications that are in the works right now that we don't even know about yet. So I will hopefully be getting you up to date on everything that I learn and bringing it to the Healthie community. So our company, just like I'm sure all of you, is to empower individuals to invest in themselves and their overall wellness. And this truly can be a part of it. So people ask me questions all the time. How do I feel about weight loss medications? And I try to bring them back that weight loss medications are not new. We're going to go through kind of where we've been and where we're going. As you can see, this has been going on since the 1950s. People have wanted the magic pill for a very long time. So we started off, and you can remember probably, depending on how old you were, of the fen-phen drugs. Those were kind of the first that came out. Those were raising our stimulation basically and causing you to not be hungry. I remember way back in my sorority days that some of the girls had these types of pills in their rooms. I remember I took one time and I felt like my heart was going to beat out of my chest. This did lead to some heart attacks. It was not great, but this fen-phen was one of the first things that came out. So I'm glad that I had the experience of what it made you feel like. It kind of made you crazy. All right. So that was kind of the first. Then we went into these serotonin releasing agents. This drug was actually, it was brought to market for seizures and still uses for seizures, but kind of a side effect where when they put that out for seizures, there was a reduction in appetite which is really interesting. So people lost weight on this drug. So it wasn't necessarily put out for weight loss, it was put out for seizures. And then we got into these reuptake inhibitors in the 1990s. And then one of my favorites was when we got into the pancreatic lipase inhibitors. And if you remember wow chips, because I do, they actually said on the label, may cause leaky stools. I mean, that's something that you want to eat, right? You want to eat something that causes leaky stools. But what would it do? It would bind fat and actually get it out of the body. So we've been in all these different places, from fen-phen to the serotonin releasing to binding fat. Now we're into GLP-1s. And so we're going to get into what they are today and how they actually work on the body. Understanding what these are. All right. So GLP-1 stands for that glucagon-like peptide. It is truly that gut-derived peptide secreted from that intestine L cells after a meal. And we'll be getting into nutrition. We are extremely fortunate that a new paper was released in June of this year. I put it in the reference and below. And if any of you, again, want these slides, I'm more than happy to share them with you. But a lot of this information came from this brand new study that was released and research paper that was released in June of this year. So the GLP receptors are found throughout the body, including the brain, the GI tract, pancreas, and other organs. The function of the GLP-1s, it does have numerous actions. And this is where we're finding out more and more about these GLP-1s. They have, from weight loss to metabolic perspective, regulates that appetite and blood glucose levels. And also it acts on that hypothalamus, regulating appetite by increasing satiety. Now, let me bring you back to my past history. I used to be a bariatric dietitian, started at 21 years old, where they were just doing surgery with no dietitian interaction. I would see them maybe like the day before, to all the way of being a bariatric coordinator. What they were finding, and why I bring this up, is because when they did those bariatric surgeries, like the Roux-en-Y, they found that there was a regulating, increasing satiety happening, and weren't truly understanding what was going on. So as they cut that stomach, made that Roux-en-Y of how it came down into that Y section, by changing that entire anatomy, they were able to truly regulate appetite, tricking the body into thinking that it was full. So through those surgeries are where these GLP-1 medications have kind of come out of, like, why is this working? How is this regulating weight loss? How is this regulating metabolism? How is this regulating these GLP-1 receptors? So it's really interesting of where we've been and where we're going. So the GLP-1 also acts on the gut to slow that GI motility and increase satiety. So it kind of slows things down, as some of your clients may receive or actually get some of that, feeling of stuck or feeling of full, because things are actually slowing down there, and it can lead to, any of those GI issues. GLP-1 acts on the pancreas to regulate insulin secretions from pancreatic cells. All right. So that GLP-1 receptor antagonist, this is where we're getting into the drug. We have now been able, well, not me, I wish it was me, I'd be a gajillionaire. But these companies have actually come out with a synthetic of this GLP-1 that mimics the action of that GLP-1 hormone in the body. So the FDA has approved the medications to treat type 2 diabetes and obesity. So these do reduce appetite, they slow digestion, and they boost metabolism. They also help the body produce more insulin, reducing the amount of sugar produced in the liver. So this is where you've been seeing these names popping up all over, and these are on the rise. I think it's estimated that there is going to be around 90 million people who have taken or are looking to take these drugs within the next couple of years. So they are not going to go away. So everyone that says they are for or against, you can have your opinions, but they're going to be with us for a long time. These drugs were originally prescribed to only patients with type 2 diabetes, but now they're commonly prescribed for weight loss. So like I was talking about, my aunt is, she is a dietitian for Novo Nordisk. And so she did a lot of work on the type 2 end. She's one of the dietitians that speaks predominantly on type 2 diabetes. And so when these drugs were coming out, she's like, just wait, it's going to be pretty interesting. But now it's opened up to obesity as well. So the rise of this popularity in the GLP-1 medications has led to shortages and fluctuations in coverage, which we might want to talk about right now. Some of the states and some of the Blue Cross Blue Shields, I know of Michigan, just want to bring that up, has actually hired internal dietitians, and those participants that want to get on the GLP-1 medication have to go through that program with those dietitians to be able to receive those GLP-1 medications. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future with those different insurance providers putting up regulations around this. I currently am on the New York State Dietetic Association board as a reimbursement chair to kind of learn about these things as well. So I'll be staying on the forefront of where this goes. We are providers with United Healthcare, Cigna, Aetna, United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, CDPHP. And so I'll be helping with that as well, just to see where this is going. Right now, depending on, I know everyone was kind of writing in that you're all over the country, which is amazing. It may be changing state by state or even with those insurance companies to see what those coverage might be. And that is because of the shortage. So there's different types of GLP-1 receptor agonists. And this is really interesting to me because I wanted to dive into this of the difference between these Wegovys and also like the Zepbound. The two different FDA approved drugs are those. In each of these medications do have sister drugs that are sold for the management of type 2 diabetes. And this is where we get into the Ozempics and the Mounjaro. So these are semaglutide and tirzepatide. Both drugs have weight loss effects, and the semaglutide was approved in 2021 for that chronic weight loss management. Tirzepatide is approved in 2023 for chronic weight management. And these are medications that act on that central nervous system to reduce food intake and body weight. They are different. Okay. So going into, and we'll get into those in a minute, but in clinical trials, the semaglutide and tirzepatide have been demonstrated to improve factors related to those control of food intake, such as hunger, fullness, and food cravings. I've worked in weight loss basically since I started in nutrition in 1998. And I know a long time. And it's been interesting to see people that really truly have an issue with feeling hunger or fullness and having massive food cravings. And so, like I said, for or against these drugs, these do help people that are truly struggling. I feel, especially with that fullness, these can truly help. Improvements in cardiometabolic risk factors, including weight circumference, systolic blood pressure, patient-reported physical function, has also been observed with the semaglutide treatment. So this kind of gives you of like where we're at and how low in minimum age we're going. So as you can see, Wegovy is as young as the age of 12. The age of 12. And something really interesting when I got my one-on-one education with Novo Nordisk on these different types of drugs, what they are, how they work. And we're going to get into this in a little bit, that these drugs are right now, they are for life. If we go off the drugs, it can cause weight gain again. So interesting if we're starting a medication at the age of 12 or even at the age of 18, of how this is going to affect the population and what it means to us as dietitians and medical providers, and anyone, if you're even in the health coaching space. So semaglutide versus that tirzepatide, what is the difference? That semaglutide is the active ingredient that's in Ozempic and Wegovy, and it does work on those GLP-1s and acts as that antagonist to treat type 2 diabetes. And it's used for weight loss. That tirzepatide, though, it has an extra little bump. It has a GIP, which is glucose-dependent insulin trophic polypeptide. Say that 5 times fast. Receptor antagonist. So it actually has it acts on two of those different hormones, so that it makes your body after you eat. So this is the difference between the Ozempic and getting into the Mounjaro. So the Mounjaro is really working on two different antagonists versus the Ozempic working on one. I know that Novo Nordisk has more things coming out, and I know I'm sure Lilly does as well. That's what I'm saying. You're going to see a lot more coming out as we go. So how do these medications work? Both the semaglutide and the tirzepatide are acting like hormones in your body after you eat. And they do act like that hormone. They're going to mimic it. Okay. So once injected, those GLP receptors are going to activate the pancreas, which then increases that insulin release to lower that blood sugar. And that's why it works on diabetes. Like I said, this was also working when we did bariatrics. We would see that someone that had bariatric surgery, the next day, we would see their blood sugars go back to normal, like very stable. Really interesting, right? Of how that one procedure was really truly affecting these GLP-1 receptors. So just really interesting of where we've been. Additionally, the GLP-1 receptors are activating the brain and GI tract, causing that reduction in hunger and appetite, and definitely can cause some of that gastric emptying, which we're talking about in the way of constipation. What does that look like? And we don't want it to be long lasting because that can have other things as well. All right, but it is signaling the brain that you're full. So the rapid weight loss occurs because there is a massive reduction in appetite and hunger cues. And so it reduces food intake. Being stuck in Appleton, Wisconsin last night, I did go and walk around, happened to go into a store and told someone that I was a dietitian, not sure why. So it went into a very long conversation. The person that was checking me out at the register was telling me that she is on one of these medications and that she has no hunger whatsoever. Just very interesting of people expressing their opinions or whatever, but that she has no hunger. And there's a lot of moments where she has to go and actually just make sure she eats because she's not getting any nutrition at all. This can lead to, like I said, delayed gastric emptying, and that prolongs the sensation of fullness, reducing the frequency of eating and causing that early satiety, so that it can make you feel full quicker. And definitely changing your food preferences, and they're less likely to overeat on their favorite foods. Maybe this person, though, last night said, well, I just go to McDonald's to get some French fries just to make sure I have calories. Now, the person was not in my office. I was not there to educate, but this is by fear, right? That people are just choosing to eat a little bit of the foods they like, and that may not be in the way of nutrition. So we're going to dive into that in a little bit as well. The effectiveness of those GLP-1s receptors, the newly approved and emerging anti-obesity medications, the AMOs, can reduce that body weight about 15%, which has previously only been seen, like I said, with bariatric surgeries and very low calorie diets. So this is the very first medication that we're seeing that really has this much effect. So in the past 5 years, the number of patients with diabetes taking these GLP-1s has risen to 43%, and the number of patients diagnosed for overweight taking it has risen to 22%. And this is just recorded, by the way. As we know, there's a lot happening on the, I don't want to say black market, but very interesting. My best friend Deirdre lives in Jersey. I'll tell you about Deirdre. She calls me 9 o'clock at night and she said, I gotta go. My person's here. I'm like, what person? Someone's dropping off an off-market Ozempic to her house. Okay. I don't know where she's getting it. I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of these different compounds out there. So these numbers, and that's what I'm saying, the number is far greater than what we're seeing here on the page. As you see, this is coming from this article that was released this summer. But I do believe that the numbers are actually higher because of all the compounds that are out there that are not being recorded of who's taking these types of medications. The effectiveness of the GLP-1s receptors on antagonists. So we can see here of how it's truly affecting blood glucose levels, how affecting those HDL, and also, everything in the way of with your osteoarthritis, from knee pain, back pain, because we're having that weight loss. It's not on this page, but when we get into infertility issues, it can also affect that as well. And in showing improvements with having that weight loss, we're seeing that is affected as well. How long can patients take these GLP-1s? Like I hinted on in the previous slide, it was known to us during our one-on-one with the education that these drugs are they are made for life. Okay, so the research does indicate that many patients that regain the weight after they stop taking the drugs, this often is because the patients did not change any of the dietary patterns, and hence of why I'm so big on dietitians working with these drugs, okay, to increase these physical activities as well. So to maintain the weight loss and health benefits associated with lower body weight, and healthy diet and exercise must be incorporated with these. The common side effects are definitely GI related, and one of the main ones is that delayed gastric emptying. The common side effects because of that are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, GERD, abdominal pain, dizziness, and also hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia also because of that insulin that we talked about and the fact that they may not be eating enough to regulate those blood sugar levels. In the trials, most evident were the mild to moderate general transient infrequency leading to that treatment discontinuation. But the evidence suggests that the adverse GI events are not significantly related to the amount of weight loss achieved. So managing these side effects, having medical nutrition therapy in place is going to be extremely important. And this is going to help to alleviate these symptoms and truly help with any type of discomfort. And also, biggest for me is to reduce any type of malnutrition that could be happening. And so dietitians can counsel patients on making these dietary changes, and that can truly help them and reduce the negative side effects. So important considerations, and this is what we're going to dive into, is the energy calorie intake that is expected. Because it's going to be a lot less, and this is where there's going to be that weight loss, we want to make sure with the food that they're getting in, that we are making sure these are nutrient dense foods, unlike the person that talked to me last night that is just going and getting that simple small French fries that isn't going to be giving them any nutrients. And this is going to be, something that I am on a crusade about. I really want to make sure that nutrition is coupled with these drugs so that we don't see all of these nutrition deficiencies. Potential barriers to these treatments, including the dietary modification, and then laboratory assessment of these nutrition status to see where we are. Nutrition education is key. So going back again to my days in bariatrics, again, when it first started, we would see that client the day before surgery, and we were not testing for nutrition deficiencies ahead of time. We thought that the surgery was causing a lot of these deficiencies because of the lack of nutrition that was coming in because the stomach was so small. The same goes now with these weight loss drugs. Just like we moved into centers of care with bariatrics, including dietitians for helping with weight loss, educating, doing a lot more with support groups, psych, a lot came into play of where we are in bariatrics, where we started. And I think it's true with these GLP-1 medications and the different hormone medications that are going to be coming after this. We need to see that education is truly an ingredient that is embedded in with these weight loss medications. I do also hope that we see that labs are required prior to getting these medications to see where nutrition deficiencies may already be there, and then also seeing where we might go with those lab work afterwards. So medical nutrition therapy is truly from a registered dietitian. I know we have a lot of dietitians on the call today, and it should be prescribed alongside that GLP-1 medication. I do see us moving in that direction, and this is to maximize these health outcomes and to ensure sustainability. And honestly, it's just for good health. And I'm sure everyone is nodding their head yes, in agreement. just taking that magic pill is not going to be the end all be all. There's going to be side effects to that. So once that person stops taking the GLP-1 medication, that weight loss is likely to come to a halt. Like I said, the drugs were meant for long-term use. So if they try to go off without having dietitians there, they most likely will regain the weight. Okay. And we don't want that either because this is causing, again, heart issues and things like that. So healthy eating habits, behavior strategies, and commitment to that long-term health are required for the success. Importance on the nutrients. So this is where that paper was perfectly put out in, I said June, but it was July that this came out. And it was perfect timing for us because we're writing the book on this right now. It comes out next month. And it was perfect timing because it really just once again made me understand how important nutrition is coupled with any of these medications. And I think for the first time, and I'm sure a lot of you will agree, that nutrition is finally getting the highlight that it deserves. So these individuals that are treated with these anti-obesity medications, they really need to make sure they're working with that registered dietitian because of the decreased food intake. The quality is going to be crucial. And basically, in all of these years that I've been working in nutrition, it still is mind blowing of the lack of education most people receive. And I know we have some people from Canada on here as well. So both in the US and Canada, it's just most people have not been educated on what this actually means. What does high quality nutrition look like? What do we mean when we say vitamins, minerals? And so getting into all of this education is going to be extremely important. So getting into the energy requirements. And again, I feel like we're back in the day of counting calories. And that's where I hope with this presentation today, and most people have moved away from that. I know all of our old materials from the nutrition care manual were really based on calories. I don't feel like that was truly helping clients. And I'm sure a lot of you are nodding your heads yes when I'm saying this. But yes, we're talking about the calorie amount. But I think we want to talk more about the quality of where we're getting these nutrients or where we're getting these calories from, and are we getting poor dietary quality? So we can talk about the energy requirements, but when we are working on how we're going to be doing this education, I want to truly be looking at those nutrients so that we're getting what that client needs with those energy requirements. Protein has come up a lot. Because of the muscle wasting. I know there's been a lot of talk about that. More is to come about that. I'm excited to see what I'm going to learn in tomorrow's presentation about muscle wasting. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, but protein intake tends to be drastically decreased with these medications because of what people are just we're not getting in enough food. So protein is key to keeping up that muscle. It is one of those macronutrients. I don't need to tell all the dietitians on here that you understand this, but it was really great in this article that came out. They went through specifically into the nutrition, and this is one of them. So this insufficient protein intake can lead to excessive loss of lean body mass, weakness, edema, hair loss, and skin changes. So with these anti-obesity medications, we should aim to make up 10 to 35% of their estimated energy intake from protein. So we need to really bump it up, truly bump it up. The goal is 60 to 70 grams per day, trying to get 1.5 kilograms of that body weight is where we're trying to be for that protein source. Carbohydrates, acceptable amount of macronutrient, and we want to be talking about that 45 to 60% of energy intake. This dietary pattern, severely low carbohydrates is not necessary because we want to make sure that we're getting in, again, vitamins, nutrients, so the fruits, vegetables, whole grains. And I can't tell you how I just love the word fiber, my favorite F word. If I could just get people to eat more fiber, we could actually make our own GLP-1s and these different hormones. So this is something when you're talking to these clients, understanding and breaking down where fiber comes from. How do you get it into your diet? How do we make sure that fiber is coming at breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack? This is something I strive for every single day. Every presentation that I have is really breaking down what fiber is and how that we can get it into our diets. Ketone body production with very low carbohydrates, that's the ketogenic diet, may promote that increased urination, dehydration, and electrolyte imbalance. Not a fan of going into that direction. So we want to make sure that we are getting enough carbohydrates. Our bodies need them. Number one source of energy. I know I don't have to tell everyone on this presentation today of the how we need carbohydrates. We need fiber-rich sources. Our gut biomes need them as well. So just making sure that we are making sure that our clients are getting enough of those high fiber vegetables, fruits, and micronutrients. Fat. Okay, so less evidence exists on the guide recommendation ranges for those dietary fats, and health comes with these patients. All right, so we're going to be right around that 20% to 35% of that energy intake for that macronutrient distribution. As we all know, fats are very, very important to the diet. I grew up in the fat-free world of the 90s. It was crazy. Every single thing in my mom's refrigerator said fat-free. I hope today that we are truly educating that we need fat in the diet to absorb fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. We have to have fat in the diet, and understanding that we need these omega-3 polyunsaturated fats and also omega-6s being essential to the body, and truly making sure that people understand the word essential, meaning that you have to eat it. Your body doesn't make it. And so how do we get those omega-3s and omega-6 fatty acids? Also, understanding saturated fats and trans fats, of limiting those sources, educating on that as well, and that we should have a balanced intake of healthy fats. So when I do my fat presentation for my clients, it takes an entire hour. I really dive into fat. I love my presentation on fat. I was very lucky to get in-depth education from Dr. Margaret Voss at Syracuse University. She opened my eyes to fat. I just couldn't believe all the cool things that learning about it and cell production. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So if I get a little nerded out, I'm happy to do a presentation on fat. But we really do need to make sure that our clients are getting this and understanding the differences between the fats. There's my fiber. Love my fiber. We know 90% of Americans fail to make that daily intake, and people taking these GLP-1s are going to have a reduction in food, and so probably even more reduction in fiber. Also because of that delayed gastric emptying, they may feel full and not really want to have more of these foods. So we need to make sure that we truly are educating on the benefits of fiber, what they do, how they can truly lower your cardiovascular risk, and how that's so important to me. I'm on the Heart Association board, and just getting that word fiber out there, and also the importance on GI health. Truly, fiber is just so important, and making sure that we put this in, and also giving them the little heads up that this can truly spur those GLP-1 hormones, which is pretty cool, doing it on its own. If your clients are not getting in enough fiber, I've had this happen to me before. This is where we do have some modern medicine. There are fiber supplements out there. I'm not that huge on supplementation, but we do need to work on that one-to-one basis with the client, making that precision nutrition. And if we do need to go in that direction to meet those fiber goals, they are there for us. Micronutrients. This is a problem across the board with regular nutrition, like regular diets, right? And then especially if we're decreasing the amount of food coming in, we're going to see a reduction in these micronutrients. So it's really important that we are educating on where we find potassium, calcium, and vitamin D, how we get these in from vegetables, fruits, low fat dairy, and also fortified soy alternatives. How are we getting in these nutrients? One of the nutrients of concerns is going to be B12. B12 is definitely a concern. It was in bariatrics as well. And as we get older, losing that intrinsic factor, we really want to make sure we're looking at this B12, making sure they are getting blood work. Are we able to break down B12? Are we able to absorb B12? So a lot happening in all the B vitamins, but where we can see a true micronutrient deficiency. And then also complement, this might need to go with a multivitamin, calcium, vitamin D. Again, getting high quality supplements, making sure that we're educating on that as well, of supplements that actually work, actually have third-party research, and getting them what they need there too. Fluid intake, I talk about hydration every single time I do a presentation, making sure that we're getting in that water. My grandmother was the best. She used to tell me that I should have those 8-ounce glasses every single day. And she was correct. I don't know how she knew it, but she was correct in getting in that hydration evenly throughout the day. So these fluid requirements are going to be very, very important because of that delayed gastric emptying, making sure things are moving through, making sure that we are getting that fluid requirement. Okay. And we can reach these with water, those low calorie beverages, and limiting that caffeine, and so that we don't have that diuretic effect. So that was a ton of information. And I know it was a little teeny bit boring in the beginning of how they all work. I could have put a lot more pictures on, but I really just wanted you to get the information. And in summary, we know there's going to be a reduction in appetite. Okay, there is going to be a reduction in how much nutrition these people are getting in. So we want to make sure that we are truly being on top of it, putting that medical nutrition therapy alongside these medications, being able to reach out to your local physician, saying, we are here as dietitians, we are here to support you. But anyone that's getting that prescription should be alongside a dietitian to make sure that they're getting the correct information and to work with them on their diets as well. This is one of our testimonials. Our dietitian, Katie, has been working with a person over the last 5 to 6 weeks. And it's just interesting to me because, again, it goes back to people just have not been educated on nutrition, and that people have been doing. And when I worked in bariatrics, I'd ask people, like, what have you done in the past? And they would go through a slew of different diets that they've had. But no one has truly been able to understand nutrition. And so this time with this client here, just understanding and working with a dietitian, that they have the knowledge that is going to help them reach their goals long term, and partnering this together with them. So I think that this is such a beautiful testimonial. We're seeing more and more of these, and just how grateful people are when they can work with a dietitian and this medication together in a partnership, so that they are, not getting that food noise, and it's calming that down. They're feeling more full, but then understanding how to actually fuel their bodies in that proper way. These are some of the resources that we used. Like I said, that one presentation or that one research document that came out in July is one of the best. It's all over the different slides. We are lucky that that was compiled this summer. And like I said, I will be helping you. I'm going to be putting out more information. I am on the direct line to learn more. And I'm excited to see where that we're going to go with this, how we're learning about more of these hormones that are in our digestive tracts, how they work on satiety and fullness. You can follow us on Instagram at Kelly's Choice _nutrition. Follow me on LinkedIn. We're posting different things all the time. And that's, I believe it's under Kelly Springer, registered dietitian, or RD, something like that. And then definitely on Facebook at Kelly's Choice. Lots more to come. So we're going to be changing, growing, learning from all of these different hormones, learning about our digestive tracts even more as the days go on. So just excited to see, and hopefully this information help you today to understand the difference between those Ozempics and the Mounjaro, understanding that more of these weight loss medications will be coming out in the future. So just you can email me at kellyschoice.org if you have any questions. And also email me at kellyspringer@live.com. But I appreciate Healthie putting this together today and just getting you some really good education. And I've been with Healthie since the beginning, right? So we've been together a long time. And so I just appreciate that. To end this, we are putting this in. I am a CPU provider, so this is going to be entered for a CEU. So just stay tuned. Make sure to reach out to Healthie that you were on this presentation today. And as soon as it is approved, we can get you that certification out for that CEU.
Yeah, and just on that note, we were hoping it'd be approved. It most likely will. I've never had a problem either getting it approved.
Nope. We shouldn't
But
have
what
any
we,
problem. Yeah.
yeah, and on the Healthy side, we do have anyone who registered today and anyone attended. So once Kelly gets notification that that's been approved, what we'll do is we'll email out all the attendees, let you know, and give you that certification details. So don't worry, we'll follow up with you on that. We'll also send today's recording. So that will be in your inbox. And then Kelly, you can let Kelly know if you'd like the presentation slides from today as well. Correct, Kelly? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy to share the knowledge. And again, anything that I can do to help anyone out there, if you have questions, I'll keep Healthie kind of up to date. Maybe we can do a round two in a few months of where we are. I think it's going to be changing pretty rapidly. So it's exciting time. And thank you everyone for being on today. I appreciate the time here and the opportunity.
Kelly, do we have any time for
We
questions
do.
today?
We do.
Okay.
We have a full 16 minutes.
Okay, there's a lot
So,
of questions, so we can try and get to them all.
okay.
Let's start with, let me see. Okay, there was a really great question here, and you mentioned earlier on in the presentation about some insurance companies requiring dietitian referrals.
Yes.
And yeah, can you just elaborate on that or recap that as well? I think you mentioned Michigan, but people
Yes.
just wanted a little bit more information.
Yes. So this is changing minute by minute as well. Because there was a shortage of the medications, they have been pulling back their willingness to give these medications out to everyone. So what they're requiring, I know our Blue Cross and Blue Shield, I'm in Central New York normally, and our Blue Cross Blue Shield has a stipulation to get this medication through your insurance. You have to be on a 3-month weight loss program. So there's a couple different programs that qualify. Our program at Kelly's Choice qualifies. So if any of you need a program that helps you to qualify clients for this, let me know. You can reach out to me. But this is something that we're seeing. It happened, like I said, at the Blue Cross Blue Shield Michigan. They're now using their own internal dietitians for this qualifying act. The other ones are just saying that you need to have proof that you've gone through a 3-month program. And again, like I saw this happen with bariatrics, that there had to be that 10% weight loss working with a dietitian prior to being able to have bariatric surgery. So it'll be interesting to see the different insurance plans of how this may change, but be on the lookout for that. I think it's in our favor a little bit as registered dietitian. So it kind of gives us that in with the client prior. So hopefully they're getting some good education prior to getting just on the drug, just taking the drug. So I think it may be good, but also it'll be interesting to see if the insurance companies just hire their own internal dietitians and kind of cut out their providers, which I don't know how that's legal. I'm not a lawyer, but that seems interesting. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight on that.
Yeah, so many good questions here. Thank you, Kelly. This one is okay. And I think you have great insights here, but if someone has had gastric bypass and regained weight, do we have any evidence or best practices, or can people use the GLP-1s after regaining that gastric bypass weight?
Well, as my person at the checkout line last night, she had gone through bariatric. I learned a lot I was kind of stuck there for a good 15 minutes with her. But she had gastric bypass and is now taking the weight loss medication. So yes, after bariatrics, if there is a regain, that is possible. However, what we're probably finding is that there wasn't really diet changes happening or exercise changing habits. And so therefore, once again, I do think that nutrition education is crucial. But yes, if you had bariatric surgery, you still can take these weight loss medications.
And there's a great one. So someone is seeing patients, Marianne is seeing patients whose dosages are automatically being increased without assessing their hunger level or progress. How best should an RD address these changes in the medication dosage?
Well, this is where I like being incorporated as part of the team with our EMR. If you're able to connect to the person that is providing this medication, it depends on if it is a compound. So if you're working with like a med spa or if it is with a primary care physician, I highly recommend connecting with that doctor so that you can go back and forth with that note. And honestly, little insider tip, that's going to help you with referrals in the future. So if you can get in with that doctor now and just say, I would, ask the client if that would be possible to interact with that physician or that med spa, whoever is giving them these medications, that's truly going to help you give insight onto what's going on. And maybe even to say like, hey, this person's really not able to eat anything at all now. So it'll give you that in and definitely get you more referrals.
Yeah, fantastic. I think you covered this earlier, and then it's asking if someone wants to use GLP-1s as a jump start, right? We're talking about timeline here. They want to lose 20 pounds, just take it for that, and then get back on track with their health and wellness goals. Do we have any evidence that this could be an effective approach?
Well, it could be effective, and I think you will lose weight. But like I said, it was very shocking to me that these drugs were made for long term. I didn't really know that before getting that one-on-one education with Novo Nordisk. I don't think that was out there that these were created for long-term use. So if someone's looking to jumpstart and get that 20-pound weight loss, are they going to gain it right back again? And those fluctuations in weight can really be detrimental to your health. And very quick weight loss can lead to some gallbladder issues and things like that as well. So it's just, I understand the jump start. I understand because then you're able to exercise easier. Things may feel a little easier. So again, I'm not for or against. I'm just here for education.
And it might come down to everything, which is just a personalized approach. What might work for
Exactly.
one patient may not work for another.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Um, in regards to, we absolutely know these are lifelong medications, and there have been shortages and cost prohibitions for those. If someone has to take a pause from these medications, right, for any reason, cost, or they can't, have access, what is the best protocol to hold down the fort until they can restart their medication?
Fiber.
Mm,
It
your
really
favorite
is.
F word.
I can't say enough about getting in whole foods. All right. So our tagline at Kelly Choice is real people promoting real food. And honestly, if we could truly get people to eat more real fiber rich foods, this would truly create our own natural body's way of making these GLP-1s. And so I think that education, and I know it's someone said once, nutrition is simple, it's not easy. And I know it's not, and no, it's not easy. There's easy foods all around us, grab and go foods all around us that really don't have fiber rich sources in them. And if we can educate that way and up that fiber intake, it truly can help them if they're going off or taking a pause from these medications.
Do you have a favorite fiber supplement, or are we just doing a whole foods approach?
I truly am a whole foods approach. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people and I'll give them options to use. But I don't necessarily promote one brand over the other. I think just making sure there isn't chemicals in the things that you're taking. Just make sure you're taking a natural form of it. But as the New York Apple spokesperson, eat some apples. 4 grams of fiber in an apple. So there you go. There's my little plug for apples today.
Um, this is a great question as well. Monitoring for nutritional deficiencies. I think this also speaks to your background in bariatric as
Yes.
well. Um, is there anything we would keep track of, any nutrients deficiencies? What would you recommend to keep an eye on for patients on GLP-1s?
That is a fantastic question. So number one across the board for everyone, vitamin D. Vitamin
Mhm.
D. And I will do a little plug for a brand. There's a brand called Gut Armor, which I do love. I just got off the phone with the owner. And it's a fantastic vitamin C source because they actually put it with butyrate and K2, which really helps the absorption. We found in bariatrics that was one of the vitamins, which we now, it's kind of like hormone-ish, but it's one of the vitamins that we saw deficiencies prior and then definitely afterwards. So the majority of Americans and Canadians being deficient in vitamin D is something that we definitely need to get checked. And it's not just on their regular their regular blood panel. So we want to make sure that we are testing for vitamin D deficiencies. Also B12, like we talked about in today's presentation, even if it's sub deficient, which means it's at the low end of those labs, we want to make sure we're bumping up that B12. It should be on the high end. And if you are working with someone who is a little bit older in age, just making sure that they're absorbing B12. We're finding that people are having an issue with that intrinsic factor. It could be from low acid in their stomach. It could be just from the aging process. It could be from a host of different things. But just making sure they're getting enough B12 in the right form of B12. We also can be looking for those micronutrients. Like I talked about, potassium is a big one that we want to look at, and looking at magnesium. So just making sure we do a full blood panel prior to taking any of these medications to see if there's subdeficiencies or deficiencies prior, and then working with them to make sure that we're getting those up. And this is where Dr. Raj at Syracuse University, I used to be anti-supplementation. If people need them, if they're subdeficient to begin with, we need to get them up to speed. And with as low of amount that they're taking or getting in on the way of the calorie deficiency, we may need that supplementation to go along with the diet.
I think this is a great question as well. What are any contraindications for GLP-1s? Are there any red flags of who shouldn't be taking them?
That's a great question. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. And so my husband always tells me, like, Kelly, you're not a doctor, because he actually is one. I like to pretend sometimes that I am and I know the answers. But I think, again, I always say, I'm a dietitian. I'm here to support you with the education there. These are questions for a medical doctor. And, make sure that you are working with an MD when you are, or a DO when you're going through this process. I do not think it's safe, as I love Deirdre to death, but I don't think it's safe that she's getting some off the market GLP-1. I don't know what she's getting. I don't know what's being compounded there. So just make sure you're getting whatever you're doing from a reputable source.
Yeah, I'm really good chiming in from our community here. There also are likely the contraindications on the boxes themselves of the medications. There's probably some
Thank you.
eating disorder history, pancreatitis, potentially. Yeah, absolutely. And certainly, wait, someone who does not, necessarily need that, especially in combination with any eating disorder history.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Great. And I think we have maybe time for one more question. We got quite a few questions around muscle wasting
Oh,
and muscle loss versus true weight loss. Um, is there any more information on which of the medications, GLP-1s, might be more muscle sparing? And or, can we just speak a little bit more to that muscle loss?
absolutely. And this is the conversation that I really want to bring up in my meeting tomorrow. I want to know more about this myself. I think we need more research. I think it might be there. I don't know if it's been released of, the different medications and these different hormones. My mentor called me yesterday and she's like, it's taking all of our muscle. And I'm like, well, there's some fake news out there too. So like, hang on a second. Dietitians are based in research. We can only share evidence-based research. So we need a little bit more before I can speak on it. But because we're having such low protein intake because of the low amount of calories coming in, this is where we need to just really emphasize the importance of getting in protein so that we are getting those amino acids as the building blocks for that muscle. So this is where, is it coming because we have this lack of protein, or is it actually coming because it's coming from the GLP-1 so an antagonist? So like, we need to kind of figure that out more. And that's where more to come on that topic. And as I get more research, evidence-based research, I will share that with you.
Thank you, Kelly. There was so much information here. I think we all know there's still a lot of research to come,
Mhm.
and the science is always evolving. These medications are going to evolve. We're going from injectables to orals in the near future as well. So there's so much, and we certainly will circle back to do a V2
Yeah,
of this, or part two. um,
absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you for everyone who joined in, who stayed till the end. Just recapping, Kelly Springer from Kelly's Choice. If you would like the slides from today, it's Kelly Springer at live.com. Drop the email there. Healthy, I'm from Healthie. I'm Stephanie. Hello. And I'll be sending out the replay email, and I will make sure to follow up with all of you who have attended on that CEU credit once we're approved. And yeah, please reach out to Kelly if you have more questions. Kelly, thank you. This was so much information and so needed.
Oh,
I can't say thank you enough.
thank you very much for this opportunity. And I hope everyone learned from today. Thank you very much. Reach out to me on any level. Happy to help you and happy to take referrals. So thank you so much, everybody.
Perfect. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.